Okay, today I'm going to be talking about this paper which explains a bit more about a magnet and its inertial line crossover. It looks rather complicated, but I had to draw all that first to cancel out stuff that wasn't happening. So, which is 3 of those drawings. And the one on the right with the E and the M and the X and the 2 swirls above and below, that is correct. So don't worry about the rest, I'll go through it, but I want to show you the video first, due to the fact of the 2 differing fields that are on the same side of one magnet and then they reflect and inverse on the other. So we can actually see 2 images, and there is a reason. So I'm going to show you the video first, then I will go through this paper.
Okay, this is one of my homemade ferro plates. This doesn't have a hole in it, but I wanted to show something from the last video. I had a piece of metal on one end, and some people have said like, oh, it's grabbing the field. Well, no, what we have is a vortex in and a pinecone out, but there's also a pinecone in and a vortex out. Is that right? It's easier to show you. So if I tilt this way, we have the pinecone here, we have the vortex here. Do you see? So this is on this side. On the other side of the magnet, you see? All this is a vortex to the pinecone. That's quite incredible. So they're actually on different sides. So I'm going to explain this with some pictures, but yeah, so see that? There's your vortex, there's your pinecone, and on the other side, up pinecone, vortex. So I'm going to show how that connects, because it's all part of the halo wave that comes out, and I drew it. One's going this way and one's going this way, and then you flip it over and it's the exact opposite. But it's also coming in at one side, going out, coming in at one side, coming in. I'm going to have to draw it because it's really hard to explain, but that's to show you that that is the vortex to pinecone flower of life, and vortex to pinecone.
Okay, so I'm taking everybody a little further this time. So, because this is how God worked it with me. He basically says, here's one thing, Lee. And once you start to understand that, I'm going to change it and show you something more. The more you look, the more you see. That goes for reading your Bible too. The more you look, the more insight you get. So I've always said there are 2 leaders coming in, clockwise and counterclockwise. One is on the inside of the other. And I've said that since the beginning. I just haven't mentioned it a lot lately. But you've got, it's as if clockwise is in the middle and counterclockwise is on the outside, but it could be the other way round. And it is on this magnet. So coming in at the top, before I go through the paper, we have clockwise on the inside, counterclockwise on the outside, but they still perform a Ouroboros torus field. So you've got clockwise, inside, counterclockwise, but when it comes out, the field is reflected and inversed, and so now you have counterclockwise on the inside and clockwise on the outside, or vice versa. So we'll go through this paper now, and it kind of explains a lot of rotations of a magnet. So that's a magnet with my inertial line crossover over it. The top left picture, excuse me, I was trying to figure out what happened if you put clockwise in and clockwise out and clockwise in and counterclockwise out. And I'm getting matter being pushed out and matter being pulled in. And then I drew the bottom ones with counterclockwise in and out and clockwise in and counterclockwise out, and that gave me the opposite. I'm sure that's to do with a lot of energy distribution, power cell kind of stuff, this bit at the bottom that I've drawn a line around. So I'm not going to go into that because I'm not interested. That's to do with if you can change the field, you can move matter in one direction only, and it won't just clunk to a magnet. You can actually get it to, the magnet will move it past, kind of like a railgun, I guess. Anyway, so we're not talking about that. So I drew the two pictures as if energy was going in one way and one the other, and I've suddenly remembered, obviously, that there's two leaders, so it's both of those together. So, if we go over to this right-hand picture, so you always have in clockwise and counterclockwise. We're looking at the right-hand picture now in the center. Clockwise comes in, across the inertia line, goes to the other side, and is now clockwise on the right-hand side. Counterclockwise comes in on the right, flips over through the inertia line to the left-hand side. Now, on the top, clockwise was inside counterclockwise as they rotate together. They'll both rotate either clockwise or counterclockwise, but one is always inside the other because one is actually in front of the other. When they get to the bottom, this is now reversed, so that clockwise is inside of counterclockwise or counterclockwise is inside of clockwise, depending on how it went through. But it completely reverses, and that's based upon also light travel. So this is how light travels. Now if you look at the top V, on the upper side is blue, and on the underneath of the V is the red. Then it goes through the inertia line crossover. This is through a convex lens, a great big one, and I stretched it so you could see the whole waveform rather than a white dot. I've now tilted it 90 degrees or 45 degrees and spread the waveform out, which is the picture on the right hand side of travel through a magnet, because all energy travels the same. So it goes into the inertia line, goes around to the other side, inverts and reflects. So now if we look at the expulsion A rather than the impulsion V, you now have blue on the top and red on the bottom, but it's inversed. So that's going through a lens as if it was your eye. So red hit first, but the inside of your eye is round, and so it reverses it so that you see what's happening. So it has inversed it and reflected it. If it hadn't been inverted and reflected, that V, the blue, should be on the underneath side of the A at the bottom. As you can see, if we turned that around, we would see that it is now inverted. Blue is on the bottom of the expulsion A, but on the inside of the impulsion V. So it has reflected the whole picture, and that's what's happening with the magnet. So everything swaps sides and is now inside out. And so just before we go into the paper, this, because the paper's just drawn lines, this is what's actually happening. So because we've got energy coming down, our inertial line crossover, on the right is light travel that we just saw, but the picture in the middle is what gives the picture on the right. As you can see, they're all traveling in the same direction, but because of the links, they can rotate round through the inertia line. Now, we've all seen this picture before somewhere on TV. Somebody's used it as a peacock tail or something like that. But it's a vortex on the right. If we look at the top half, it's a vortex, sorry, on the left. That's just coming around and straight down off of the energy beam that's coming in the energy vortex. The one on the right curves outwards. So we have a vortex and a V, which is why on the right there I've got the vortex in the center and then the arcs going out, because it's rotating, and it's rotating in a standing wave, so all of that is on both sides, but one is inside the other. So when it comes out, the field is reversed and inflected, and so it's not only reversed, but the inside is now the outside. And above and below I've got the impulsion V and the impulsion heart, and underneath I've got expulsion A heart and expulsion vortex, but they're now inside out. And at the bottom, that's the travel that I'm about to show, in and then out. And as you can see, it's based upon, again, the Eye of Horus, which is a wave going around an inertial plane and then out and being completely different. So that being said, let's go through the paper. That's what the magnet actually looks like. That's our two fields on right and left hand side of the magnets, not above and below the inertial line, but right and left. One is coming over and in, one is coming over, out, round and in, before it then shoots out to the inertia line, runs around it, comes in and reflects and inverts. Okay. That being said, I've got my energy rotation rule there of counterclockwise energy flow rotates matter forwards, it pushes it forwards, and clockwise energy flow rotates matter backwards. So when we go back to the picture on the right hand side, we have clockwise coming in And so that is pushing matter, as you can see I've got E and M's, that's pushing matter backwards. You know, counterclockwise on the right, and that is pushing matter forwards. Underneath we have counterclockwise pushing matter forwards, the opposite direction, and then we have clockwise on the right, pushing matter, or rotating matter, backwards. So if you then go to the picture in the middle, the X, which is the inertial line crossover, each piece is rotating matter in that butterfly direction. So it's energy moving matter. You have to understand it, but many of you do. Energy and matter are separate. And energy rotates matter. So you have a different shape on the top and bottom as you do around the inertial line. Now those are all spinning together and going back. They're all going downwards. So that would look like a butterfly on a stick if it was, you know, if you were looking at the magnet. Because everything is going through a magnet. But matter and energy energy is rotating matter. In the top piece, it's either rotating it up or down because one is inside the other. That's the point here. One is not being used because it's on the outside, and one is being used because it's on the inside. And then when it gets to the other side of the magnet, this is reversed. So my two pictures of clockwise out and clockwise in there show that you can push matter into something or out of something. And that's what's happening with a magnet. It's got two completely different rotations on either side of the magnet. And it's basically moving matter. If you look just above, you'll see a swirl. Because matter is going up and down, matter around the magnet will swirl clockwise. Whereas underneath, the matter flow is going in another direction, the opposite direction. So it creates a counterclockwise rotation. And if you put those together, you have galaxy spin. That's what's in the center of a galaxy, is a giant magnet, which it isn't a giant magnet, it's just an inertial plane crossover for energy. And this is what happens in the center of everything, from your heart to atoms to black holes to suns and everything else. So yeah, that's about it. So I'll take us back to the video, and that's on for a few more minutes, and you can watch and listen to me trying to explain it in words again. But that is actually what's happening in a magnet, which is what gives us all these swirls. They're all Fibonacci spirals of matter that have been moved by energy rotation. Thanks very much. My name is Lee, and I follow the Christ Jesus, and he showed me all this in visions in 2014. I've spent 3 years figuring it all out, putting it in everything in life, until finally I've come to the magnet and understood that this, I'm now able to show everything. Thanks a lot. Bye. And the video's gone on long enough, so that's that. Thanks a lot. Bye.